Hello and welcome to the Tech Show. This week we're going to be deep diving into the materials that were wonder materials that we never got, Martyn, in the frame industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And that should be interesting going into those details because the other day I had to be told whether I was using Shimano or SRAM on my bike.
It's going to be a good debate.
Okay, let's get into this materials discussion. And I guess it starts with, why is everything made of carbon? Why is... It's basically plastic with some of my shirt in it.
Yeah.
That's so, and I feel there's much better alternatives and some that have just fallen by the wayside, Anna.
That
sounded great, then they went.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why.
Well, what are you an advocate for? I mean, you're a bit of an eco man, aren't you? So you're telling me it's all about aluminium? Is it all aluminium? Is that your favourite?
No.
What's your favourite material?
My favourite bike material, and I feel like I'm serious, we should all sign up to and just move on from that point, is bamboo. Stop laughing.
Stop it.
Bamboo bikes are fabulous.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you could just have like this thing growing in your garden and someone could come to your garden and go, oh, what are you growing? And you could say, bicycles.
Huh. I've got some bamboo in my garden. Do you reckon I could make a bike out of it?
I mean, you probably need to grow quite big bamboo, I guess. But I love the idea of bamboo bikes. I love wooden bikes. I think they're works of art. Anytime I've been to like one of the shows that has got the bespoke show and stuff like that, incredible bikes made out of these amazing materials, and I'm not entirely sure we need carbon. I'm not even entirely sure we need aluminium. If we can grow it out of the ground, to quote a meme that you might all know, then why not just grow bicycles out of trees?
Yeah,
it's that easy.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it sounds that easy. Yeah, we won't talk about the resin that binds the two.
Now there is a flaw.
We won't go into that.
There's a flaw in my eco argument for bamboo bikes because you do have to use epoxy resin to kind of like join it all together. But there is bio versions of that.
There is, right?
But obviously a lot of the bikes aren't made with that. So anyway, but my reason is not just purely because of eco. It's just because I think it's cool. Bamboo bikes are cool. Wooden bikes are cool.
I am an advocate for carbon, and I'll circle back to why I like it. But I haven't always ridden carbon bikes. My first bike was an alloy bike, aluminium. When I was racing XC, I was on a Scandium bike. Do you remember Scandium?
Scandium. Scamdium. Yeah.
It was a bit of a fad for a while. That came about. A lot of Kona bikes were Scandium. A lot of Sousas were Scandium because they were lighter, a lot lighter.
Mid-noughties time, yeah. I remember reading about it a little bit.
It was like a Kona Dog Supreme was the Scandium, but it didn't get a very good rep because they were a bit more expensive, and also a lot of them bent and cracked. And I don't know if that was as a result of Scandium. Either way, it got a bit of a bad rep, and so we kind of moved on from it.
Dropped away. Did sound like a Marvel hero though. So that was
made
cool.
Out of adamantium.
And you don't get that cracking and breaking problem with bamboo bikes.
No.
Okay. We're going to
Captain
constantly
America
refer them to bamboo bikes.
With his shield, doesn't he?
Shield.
But then there was also magnesium. Do you remember like magnesium bikes happening as well?
Back in the early 90s, Kirk brought a bike out that was magnesium, and it was very strange looking. A lot of you out there will remember it. And I mean, one, it was ugly. Right. When I say strange, I mean
that
ugly.
doesn't help.
That didn't help. And two, it had so much flex in it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you could literally push on the pedal and the whole bottom bracket would just bend over. So it was very flexy, hence it didn't catch on then. But since then, it's sort of come back in a little bit, hasn't it? Yeah,
so magnesium, I've got to say, there's a couple of ways to use magnesium. Sometimes you can use it as an alloy, like a mix, and sometimes you can just add it to the alloy. And either way, there's a couple of variants. But we do actually use a lot of magnesium. You can have magnesium seat rails, the lowers on your forks. Certainly Fox use magnesium.
Oh, right.
It's quite common. We do use it a lot. And it's really good for die casting. It's really good for moulding. You don't need to use much finishing afterwards. And it's really, really strong as well. But the problem with it is it doesn't really like being welded. It's not very strong after it's been welded. So if you're trying to put a frame together, and also it's really reactive. So, you know, when your manufacturing building blows up, it's kind of bad for business, you see. So
it can blow up.
Well, you can set things on fire because it's quite flammable. Yeah, so the welding and everything is just not great for magnesium. So it kind of put a bit of a dampener on the whole frame production. But Merida were a really big pusher of magnesium back in the day. So do you remember Gunrita Dahl?
Yes,
absolute legend in the early noughties. Was
her bike
winning?
Magnesium?
Yeah.
No way.
She won the 2004 Olympics on a magnesium Merida. But at that time, a lot of people were experimenting with carbon at the same time until like 2008. Pretty much every bike that was coming through was carbon. It was lighter, even though magnesium was like 30% lighter than alloy. Carbon was getting lighter and lighter and lighter to the point where it was like, well, that's hard to produce and it's expensive, and this is lighter, so why not stick with this? So that's why kind of carbon came about.
One way that magnesium could have fixed that welding problem is to use epoxy resin at the joints, right? And
you're right.
Yeah. Or maybe just use bamboo.
Or Athertons could like 3D print something or die cast something and then just shove them in together. That could be the new Atherton alloy bike, couldn't it?
The Atherton bamboo bike. Yeah. Oh my God, my dreams. What about, now I don't know much about this next one, graphene. Where have we seen it? Because I remember the roadies going on about graphene.
They went mental for it.
Richardson did a wicked video on it once.
He did?
Yeah, I remember.
So graphene, I mean, we've got it in our tyres. So Vittoria used graphene in our tyres to make it stronger. Basically, graphene is like this ridiculous material. It's like an atom. It's like the smallest material known to man. It's 200 times stronger than steel. 200, Martin. Stronger than steel. But it's really, really tiny, and it's so strong you can't break it. It just bends. So they were putting shavings in resin to sort of fill the spaces in carbon frames and make them lighter and stronger because resin's quite brittle and nasty. So yeah, that's what they were doing. So it wasn't like a graphene bike. There was graphene just in the frame. But what's really exciting about that bike actually is that graphene is a superconductor. So you can conduct electricity and you can send electricity through the frame. You could actually send data through it if it were, in theory, like if we could.
There are some issues with that though, because there's got to be a certain twisting to the fibres. They need to be at a particular angle. I believe it's 1.1 degrees or something like that.
Done your research.
I went on Google. And what I did read though is it needs to be, for the superconductor part of it to work, it needs to be very, very cold.
Yeah.
So in the UK it might work, but I don't think if you're somewhere nice in the US, it's gonna be the way to go.
Yeah, and it's really expensive and hard to produce and really hard to source. So we come back to carbon again, haven't we?
We do. So go on. Why is carbon basically is just like the lesser of all evils?
Yes.
Is that right?
Unless you're a real environmentalist. But there are some ways to get around it. You can kind of recycle carbon, and if it was a thermoplastic instead of a thermoset, maybe I need to do this as a topic because we're going to go off on one here. A thermoplastic can actually be remolded and recycled, whereas the typical process that we use now doesn't. But anyway, guys, I guess we better ask these guys what they think. Did you have a scandium frame or a magnesium frame? Was it amazing? Or did it crack and fail and now you're wishing you bought a carbon frame? Because at least a carbon frame is repairable.
Or am I right? Is it all about bamboo?
All about bamboo. So I've just discovered this company called Madrone who are fixing derailleurs, basically. Nice. So they're manufacturing parts like linkages and lower cages that fix SRAM derailleurs. Don't know why they're not doing Shimano yet, but they're only doing SRAM at this time. They're doing most mechanical Eagle derailleurs and most of the old style axis, not the Eagle transmission. So effectively, if you bent your mech, that link, you can replace it. You can order a new kit to replace it, or if you live in America, you can spend $18 sending your broken derailleur to them, and they will literally fix it all up for you, so you don't have to buy a new one. And I really like this. So for a mechanical link, we're looking at $99 or £79. It's not terrible. And then mechanical, there's also other stuff, they call it a super shim. Basically, you know how your derailleur bolts into the frame, and sometimes that can sort of wobble, the bushing kind of gets worn real easy. Well, they've got a shim that fixes that, so that's really cool. I think you should look out for that.
That sounds a lot like a washer. But, hey, it does.
At $25, I think, yeah.
It must be some
fancy washer.
Talking about spending money,
yes.
Troy Lee has bought back Troy Lee, which must be a very weird thing to do. And he's been supported by a very prominent American family.
That's what we're told.
Is it prominent? Or world? No, they say world class.
American family. Who is that?
I think I know who it is.
Yeah, I think I know who it is. Well,
do you think?
Neil said, and it sounded like.
Well, we better not say.
We better not say.
It was originally. Obviously, originally owned by Troy Lee, but recently was owned by Two Ride Group and SBJ Capital. They're the previous owners. But it will return to its roots and unique helmet designs and innovations, which to all fans of Troy Lee sounds fantastic. Great,
it does.
Great. We're glad you're back.
Yeah. Also, sort of new from Starling, who make the steel bikes. You familiar? They're only down the road in Bristol.
Love them, yeah.
Well, they usually make custom and sort of frame orders, and now they've just put out a sort of set spec, so a full build on all of their models. It started from £5,000 for their Roost, which is their stainless steel hardtail, which looks absolutely delightful, or from £7,000 for their Murmur. But that is Reynolds 853 steel, and it's fully built. Basically, you don't get to pick your spec. They will spec it for you on the website because they are not going to go down this route of saying, oh, this is elite and this is not elite, and they don't really like that kind of level of speccing. So they're just, this is the best that works with our bikes. That's what you get in. That's what you can order.
Like that.
Quite like it.
Yeah, they're lovely bikes. Really lovely. I'm a big fan. That's like, please send me one.
Yes,
yeah,
and
that's
me
so
too.
not gonna happen.
Mini Murmur for me, please.
SRAM Red for you roadies and gravel riders out there. Essentially, it looks a lot like SRAM Eagle.
Yeah.
For your road bike or gravel bike. 13 speed.
13 speed.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hanging off a UDH, which a lot of people have been asking me, oh, does that mean I can just like now put my Eagle transmission on my mountain bike and my gravel? Sort of. I mean, the derailleur would fit a UDH, so we're going to get loads of gravel bikes with UDHs now. But the XDR, which is like the roadie free hub body, is a different length to the mountain bike one. So it's not really going to pair up. So don't get excited just yet. But should we get excited about 13 speed? What are you saying?
Yes.
Do you want one more? Just one more gear?
I don't know how many I've got now. I honestly don't. I click until it stops, and that is usually not quite what I wanted.
Well, if only
I
you
honestly
had
got it. I'm not even
speeds.
joking. The other day, someone was asking me about my gears, and I could have sworn blind I had Shimano or Di2 on it. But apparently, I've got Eagle on it. It's really great. It's really great.
Picture of an eagle.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, now I know. There's a little eagle on the paddle bit. But you know, I just use the stuff. I don't know. I just use it.
Okay, S-Works was on our question last week. And where does that name come from, Martyn? Do you know?
I didn't know, I'll be honest. But
I didn't either.
We had some great suggestions from you, Anna, options to pick from. A, named after an iconic plane. B, named after a division that created an iconic plane. It's just specialised and works amalgamated, which is what I thought it probably was, but it's not.
I thought it was. I genuinely thought it was. I put those answers in there because I didn't think anyone would get this, and actually there's about 30 people who got it without needing to be prompted.
Everyone in the world but us knew.
Everyone knew, yeah. So it's actually, S-Works is sort of an abbreviation or a nod to Skunk Works, which was a division in Lockheed Martin who made infamous planes, basically. So if you're familiar with the SR-71 Blackbird,
it's an all right plane.
I am not, but apparently you were.
Well, I know what it looks like.
They made that. So Specialized just wanted a division that had the same ethos. They brought the best minds using the best materials to come up with iconic models. A lot of winners.
We got a question for this week, and oh my God, I wish I'd asked you, because you said this earlier on and I didn't know the difference. Okay,
I'm gonna explain
what is the difference between thermoset and thermoplastic?
And it explains the carbon differences a little bit.
Yeah, let us know your answers next week.
Okay, comments time from you lovely people. And Threno82 says, because we were discussing about tech moving from e-bikes to non-assisted bikes, and he said, people with e-bikes are lizard people. Can you confirm whether you're a lizard person or not?
What does that mean, lizard people? Do you know what? I got really offended the other day because someone saw me on my e-bike and he said, bloody e-bikers. And I thought, are you suggesting I'm not a mountain biker? I literally work on a mountain bike channel.
No, we work on e-bikes now, don't we? 9 Tango Juliet says, insert derogatory comment about e-bikers here. There's not much love.
No, Risek1 says, I got into e-bikes. It was a mistake. Now I'm building my first own bike, no suspension, no electric.
Well, he's swung completely the other way, hasn't he? Just go back to road biking, mate. You'd be happier there, I think. Nissa2 Turta says, stupid e-bikes, they really suck. He said, I had 70-inch legs, like stumps, he says. Now they are little twigs. Well, no one's forcing you to ride an e-bike, mate, but it sounds like you're enjoying it, to be honest. Can't be bad.
Donut Barbell said, had an e-bike for a year, but having space for just one bike at home means I kept my regular bike. I've no particular hate towards e-bikes, but they're different. Saying a lot by not saying much, I think.
Indifferent. Magoo says, I think e-bike tech is taking over. There's nothing wrong with that. Opinion MGU is the future, he says. And then Burning Gat the Trailhead says, BMX started the short crank popularity, not e-bikes.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, fair comment.
Yeah. Did you use short cranks on trials bikes, or did you need long ones?
I don't know what they're using now. I think they run a shorter crank than I used to use on a trials bike. Is that right? Is it 1555?
Like.
Yeah, that is much shorter. I used to run a 170. But I was on a sort of, bit of a hybrid mountain bike, trials bike, so yeah, maybe it doesn't relate.
Oh, well, I'll just finish on this comment from Joey Hoper. Who said, e-bike boom has taught us there are a lot of crabby, judgmental mountain bikers out there who love to tell us how we should ride our bikes in the woods. Well, you've met a few of those out on your e-bike.
I have.
Obviously.
I always think it's all bicycles. It is all bikes. It's all bicycles. It doesn't make any difference.
No.
But yeah, you have different types of riding on each. But hey, each to his own. It's all. I always love when we all. If you go to a bike park, whether it's got e-bikes there, gravel bikes, or there's people on normal mountain bikes, the one thing we all do when we get there is talk about bikes.
Yeah.
And we all come together, and we've all come from different things, but then we meet at mountain biking and cycling, and that's a good thing. So shoving any division into it, not cool in my opinion.
Not cool, not very
cool.
mountain
but,
biking. Well said, Martyn. I think we should leave the show on that ending. So thank you very much for watching, and let us know the quiz answers and what you think of carbon, magnesium and scandium down in the comments below. Thanks.